Welcome to the Pariksha Academy. Today's topic is Right to Freedom of Religion, Articles 25, 28. Right to Freedom of Religion, Articles 25 to 28. The right to freedom of religion is a fundamental right guaranteed under Articles 25 to 28 in Part 3 of the Constitution of India. The primary objective of this right is to protect freedom of conscience, allow individuals to profess, practice, and propagate religion, provide religious denominations autonomy in managing their religious affairs, and maintain a constitutional balance between the state and religion. Indian secularism does not mean an anti-religious state. The state maintains equal constitutional respect towards all religions, while retaining the power to intervene where necessary for social reform, equality, public order, and other constitutional values. Article 25. Article 25 guarantees to all persons freedom of conscience and the right freely to profess, practice, and propagate religion. This right is not confined to Indian citizens. It is available to all persons. Freedom of conscience means that an individual has the freedom to determine his or her own religious beliefs and convictions. A person may accept a religion, change religious beliefs, or choose not to follow any religion. To profess religion means to freely acknowledge and express one's religious faith and beliefs. To practice religion may include rituals, worship, ceremonies, observances, and other conduct associated with religious beliefs. To propagate religion means the freedom to communicate, explain, and spread one's religious beliefs and doctrines to others. The right to propagate religion does not include a fundamental right to convert another person through force, fraud, or improper inducement. In Rev. Stanislaus V. State of Madhya Pradesh, the Supreme Court clarified that the freedom to propagate religion does not include a right to forcibly convert another person. The freedom to profess, practice, and propagate religion is not absolute. The rights under Article 25 are subject to public order, morality, health, and the other provisions of Part 3 of the Constitution. For example, if a religious practice seriously affects public health or public order, merely describing it as religious does not automatically give it absolute constitutional protection. Article 25 Clause 2 permits the state to make laws concerning certain secular and social aspects connected with religious activity. The state may regulate or restrict economic, financial, political, or other secular activities associated with religious practice. Therefore, every administrative or economic activity associated with a religious institution does not necessarily receive the same constitutional protection as matters that are essentially religious. For example, financial management, property administration, and other secular activities of a religious institution may be subject to statutory regulation. The state may also make laws for social welfare and reform. The state may make laws for throwing open Hindu religious institutions of a public character to all classes and sections of Hindus. According to the explanation to Article 25, the wearing and carrying of kirpans is deemed to be included in the profession of the Sikh religion. For the purposes of Article 25 Clause 2, references to Hindus are construed as including persons professing the Sikh, Jain, and Buddhist religions. This does not mean that their distinct religious identities cease to exist. In disputes concerning religious freedom, the judiciary has developed the Essential Religious Practices Doctrine. In the Shirur Mutt case, the Supreme Court, while interpreting constitutional protection of religion and religious practices, emphasized the distinction between essential matters of religion and secular activities associated with religion. Under this doctrine, courts have examined whether a practice for which constitutional protection is claimed has the necessary relationship with the religion concerned. However, the Essential Religious Practices Doctrine continues to be a subject of constitutional and judicial debate, particularly regarding the extent to which courts should determine what is essential to a religion. Religious freedom is not interpreted in complete isolation from other fundamental rights. A balance may be required between religious freedom and constitutional values such as equality, dignity, liberty, and non-discrimination. Article 26. Article 26 grants certain rights relating to religious and institutional affairs to every religious denomination or any section thereof. While Article 25 primarily protects the religious freedom of individuals, Article 26 protects the collective freedom of religious denominations. The rights under Article 26 are subject to public order, morality, and health. Every religious denomination has the right to establish and maintain institutions for religious and charitable purposes. It has the right to manage its own affairs in matters of religion. It has the right to own and acquire movable and immovable property. It has the right to administer such property in accordance with law. Management of religious affairs and administration of the property of a religious institution are not identical concepts. A religious denomination may enjoy greater constitutional autonomy in matters essentially concerning religion, whereas property management and secular administration may be regulated by the state through law. In identifying a religious denomination, judicial decisions have generally considered elements such as common faith, a distinctive organization, and a distinctive name. The Shirur Mutt case is a leading decision concerning Article 26 in the autonomy of religious denominations. Article 26 does not give religious institutions an entirely independent administrative sphere beyond state regulation. Secular administration, finance, and property management may be regulated according to law. Article 27. Article 27 protects a person from being compelled to pay any tax whose proceeds are specifically appropriated for the promotion or maintenance of any particular religion or religious denomination. Its purpose is to ensure that the state does not use its taxation power to compel citizens to financially support the promotion or maintenance of a particular religion. Article 27 does not impose an absolute prohibition on every tax or every item of government expenditure connected with religious institutions. The distinction between a tax and a fee is important. If a fee is lawfully imposed in connection with regulatory, administrative, or specific services provided to a religious institution, it does not become a violation of Article 27 merely because it relates to a religious institution. Similarly, every expenditure by the state on the preservation of monuments of religious or historical significance, administration, or maintenance of public order does not necessarily amount to promotion of a particular religion. The crucial question is whether the proceeds of a tax are specifically appropriated for the promotion or maintenance of a particular religion or religious denomination. Article 28. Article 28 provides the constitutional framework concerning religious instruction and religious worship in certain educational institutions associated with the state. According to Article 28 Clause 1, no religious instruction shall be provided in any educational institution wholly maintained out of state funds. Its purpose is to prevent an educational institution fully financed by the state from becoming a compulsory vehicle for instruction in a particular religion. However, there is an important exception to this rule. Under Article 28 Clause 2, the prohibition does not apply to an educational institution administered by the state but established under an endowment or trust that requires religious instruction to be imparted in that institution. Therefore, a distinction must be made between an institution administered by the state and an institution wholly maintained out of state funds. According to Article 28 Clause 3, no person attending an educational institution recognized by the state or receiving aid out of state funds can be compelled to participate in religious instruction or attend religious worship conducted in that institution. If the person concerned is a minor, the consent of his or her guardian is required. Thus, the constitutional position of religious instruction in a state-aided institution is different from that in an institution wholly maintained out of state funds. In an institution wholly maintained by state funds, religious instruction is constitutionally prohibited. In a recognized or state-aided institution, the principal protection is that a person cannot be compelled to participate in religious instruction or worship without the required consent. There is also an important distinction between religious instruction and the academic study of religion. Academic teaching about the history, philosophy, literature, culture, or comparative study of religions does not necessarily amount to religious instruction or indoctrination into a particular faith. In Aruna Roy v. Union of India, the Supreme Court did not automatically equate value-based education and the study of religions with religious instruction. Interrelationship of Articles 25 to 28. Article 25 protects freedom of conscience in the individual's freedom to profess, practice, and propagate religion. Article 26 protects the rights of religious denominations concerning their religious affairs and institutions. Article 27 protects individuals against compulsory payment of taxes specifically appropriated for the promotion or maintenance of a particular religion. Article 28 lays down constitutional limitations and freedoms concerning religious instruction and religious worship in educational institutions. Taken together, Articles 25 to 28 establish a balanced constitutional framework of religious freedom, accommodating individual faith, collective religious autonomy, religious neutrality of the state, and social reform. Freedom of religion does not mean that every activity performed in the name of religion is beyond constitutional regulation. Religious beliefs receive substantial constitutional protection, but economic, financial, political, and other secular activities associated with religion may be subject to legitimate state regulation. Religious freedom also does not mean that public order, health, morality, or other fundamental rights automatically become irrelevant whenever a religious practice is claimed. The Constitution protects an individual's freedom of religion while simultaneously preserving sufficient constitutional space for the state to pursue social reform and protect constitutional values. Thus, Articles 25 to 28 embody the practical constitutional framework of Indian secularism, in which the objective of the state is not to eliminate religion, but to protect religious freedom while maintaining constitutional equality, liberty, and balance among individuals and religions. Thank you very much for joining us. For more useful study material, please like and share this video, and subscribe to the Pariksha Academy channel.